Hi everyone, Dr. Loharan here, and in this video I'm going to dive deeper into environmental factors that can cause stress, and ultimately that would lead to pain. As we learned in our last video, there are three major factors that can cause pain, and they can all be lumped into stress. And stress is broken down into three categories, which is mental, physical, and environmental. So in this video, I'm going to talk about specifically the environmental and even more specifically, what we eat. I'm going to talk about what omega-6s are, why they're bad for you, and what foods are high in omega-6s and how to balance our intake. So let's get into it. The typical Western diet is extremely high in omega-6s. So if you're looking at a ratio of omega-6 to omega-3, the Western diet typically has 15 to 17 omega-6s to 1 omega-3. So looking at that ratio, that is extremely unbalanced, right? We are definitely consuming a lot more omega-6s in our diets than we are omega-3s. Now, why does that matter? If omega-6s are an essential fatty acid, meaning we must consume them in order to get the benefits, our bodies can't naturally create omega-6s, then I'm good to go, right? I eat so many omega-6s that I'll never run out. Well, there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. In fact, new research has shown that a diet high in omega-6s can lead to cardiovascular disease, cancer, osteoporosis, and inflammatory and autoimmune diseases. This is because a diet that is high in omega-6s will have an increased inflammatory response in the entire body. And when you have an increased inflammatory response, that will lead to increased pain. In fact, there has been new research published by University of Texas on June 23rd, 2021, that actually discusses a link between Western diet and chronic pain. In fact, they found that the typical Western diet high in omega-6 polyunsaturated fats served as a significant risk factor for both inflammatory and neuropathic pain. So what can we do to limit our omega-6 intake? Well, we have to find out what foods are really high in omega-6s. And the really big number one thing is vegetable oil. That is how Western diets got really saturated with omega-6s. It's because we started cooking with only vegetable oil. So if that's you, you gotta stop. There are many different kinds of oils out there that are much better for you, such as coconut oil or olive oil. The other thing is, the other things that are really high in omega-6s are processed snacks. So like Cheetos, Lay's, things like that. Fast food usually is cooked in vegetable oil. And also things like cured meats and cakes. So a lot of the really yummy, guilty pleasure types of foods, I know, it's really difficult. But that is how our diets have become so unbalanced with omega-6s to omega-3s. The other thing we can do is increase the amount of omega-3s that we're eating. That'll help improve that ratio too. So foods that are really high in omega-3s are wild fish, things like salmon, mackerel, anchovies, cod liver, things like that. They are full of omega-3s. But if you're not a fish person or you can't eat fish every day, it's really good to get a high quality supplement with omega-3s in it as well. And I did a video recently about omega-3s and their benefits if you want to check that out here. I know diet changes are really difficult, but it all starts with baby changes. Baby steps. we make these baby steps with the ultimate goal in mind, right? And we don't really quite know. Scientists have still not come to a consensus about the ideal omega-3 to omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, but it is anywhere between 4 to 2 to 1. That doesn't make sense. It's between 4 and 2 omega-6 to 1 omega-3. And we know that as humans, we evolved on a 1-to-1 ratio. But because it's so prevalent in a lot of our foods, it is very, very difficult to get down to that 1-to-1 ratio. Well, that's all I've got for you today. As a quick recap, we went over what omega-6s are, why they're bad for you, and where they could be found, where they could be hiding in a lot of the foods that we're eating. And we also talked about new research on how omega-6s can lead to chronic pain through an inflammation pathway. And we also talked about how to decrease our omega-6 intake and increase our omega-3 intake to improve that ratio. I hope you learned something new today, and I hope you're inspired to make some small changes to your diet so that you can improve your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. Let me know in the comments what foods you were most surprised had high omega-6 levels. I know that for me, when I was going through the initial reduction of my omega-6 intake, I was shocked to find that all of the potato chips that I ate were made in vegetable oil. So that was kind of a bummer, and it has been a slow transition, but now I am perfectly happy with my plantain chips that are fried in coconut oil. As always, if you found this video valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe to my page. It really helps me in determining what kind of videos to make for you guys. And leave me some comments if you have any suggestions too. And if you know somebody who might benefit from shaking up their diets a little bit, share this video with them. I think they might need a new, fresh perspective, or maybe they need to know that there's some new research out there that links inflammation to chronic pain. I'll see you next time on Wake Up with Dr. Loharan.